Hello. What's going on, everybody? Welcome now, Stock Trades. In this video, we're going to go ahead and talk about a few things. Lots of data and really more of a mental model of how I'm looking at things. This video may not be for all people, but if you listen, you might actually learn something in this video, okay? So, as always, this is an educational platform. Nothing we say constitutes financial advice. I don't know your financial situation. In fact, when you meet with a personalized financial advisor, they meet you where you're at. There's a difference between how a 20-year-old invests versus a 70-year-old. Two completely different things. And maybe there's some 70-year-old people that want to invest aggressively because they want their money to go to their children. Again, when you watch these videos, understand these are educational videos only, right? And they do not constitute financial advice. Okay, so there's that. Now, with that said, we're going to be talking about a couple things right now that I find very interesting in terms of the psychology. And I'm just going to have my email here on the side. I'm going to be looking at it, so I may have to stop the live for a few moments and then get back onto it. So we're going to be talking about some mental models and lattice frameworks of thinking and kind of what I think in regards to the 3.5 stars from CMS. We're going to go ahead and talk about institutional ownership, talk about instances where free cash flow went down for a company, talk about the contrarian sector analysis and options chain for Clover. And then ultimately do Chalk Talk, where we're going to go ahead and do an educational framework into like, for example, how Charlie Munger does his thought process, ease, right? And we're going to look at technical analysis, right? So there's a lot going to be jam-packed into this video. And in fact, there's one more thing here that I want to talk about. In fact, it's probably going to be in investor relations. And it's, I think it's this one here, or it's mostly news, actually, financial releases. And then here it is right here. So we're going to be talking about this news article that came out for Clover. So with that, let's go ahead and dive in here. So first, let's talk about the stock price, right? Because a lot of people, that's the only thing they look at, right? So we went ahead and had a leak within CMS, which then dropped the stock price down around 22%, now around 19%. But then when the news actually broke out, we went from $2.70 and we dropped down 10.41%. And then the next day we rebounded 12.5%. And then now we're stabilizing in that arena. Now, I find this interesting because, as you guys know, within our platform, we have retail investors, which constitute about 95% of the people that are in our platform. And we actually have some institutional investors. More than ever now, we have about 5% of institutional investors that have joined the Al Stock Trades platform from an institutional side in regards to our data that we provide. I actually was speaking to both of them more religiously with the institutional side because the retail area is just good to see their comments. And I've been seeing a fragmentation, one being data-driven, the others being on emotion. And you could imagine which one is emotion. And I really like this. I really want to grow the institutional side out more because I'll have a sample of what retail investors are thinking from our platform, regardless of how much data that you have. It doesn't matter. Retail investors think the way they think, right? And I'm going to be talking about this in the Chalk Talk. And then we're going to talk about the 3.5 stars and how Andrew Toy literally trapped himself with a statement that's actually very bullish in regards to SaaS. We're going to be talking about these things. But I would say let me drink some coffee here. I would say the most useful thing right now that I would like to do in the beginning is I want to do the chalk talk, right? So I'm going to just lower the microphone here. Let me know if you guys can hear me like this. Can you guys hear me this way? If I speak to the microphone like this, I'm going to be putting my head down. So if we have the stock price right now for Clover, and let's ignore that it went up to $18 or $28. Let's just focus on the beginning half right now, right? So let's say this is 60 cents. Okay. The stock price went ahead and ballooned up to, obviously, like it dipped a little bit, but we're going to make this drawing simple. The stock price ballooned to around $4.86, right? Remember that? And then now it's fallen down to $2.50. Now, if we were to look at the delta, the change from point A to point B, what you'll find is something quite interesting. The stock went up 653%. Okay, just checking an email here. It went up 653%. Now, in the course of, I would say, from April 19, which is a nice day, to around January. So that's about, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. In about 9 months, the stock price ballooned 6 baggers, right? And if we were, and let me see if I can cut this off so I could is there a way I can cut things here? There it is. If we were to go ahead, kind of a few data points here. If we were to go ahead and go back to sample size point B, and if we were to ask retail investors, is the stock going to go up or down? A lot of retail investors would say up. And what they would also do is most likely, buy more, of course, right? But at least in my data, during this time, I was doing covered calls, right? I was doing covered calls during this time. I would say from 450 to like 486. And I was also doing cash secured puts, right? Because from an intrinsic value perspective, yes, the intrinsics are changing. But at the end of the day, there is a mean reversion. And if we were to kind of graph a positive slope, there is some form of mean reversion that needs to happen. And I would say that mean reversion is right around where Clover bought, around $3.50, $3.60 on average, right? But that's my opinion. So, and to show you proof that I was doing that, let's just go here. You could see during this moment, here's February, I would say this was a volatile but profitable day. Gave me the opportunity to double lip on my cash secured puts. This was back on February 24, 2025. You can see the date on Discord. I'll be rolling out the 450. I got 25,000. So I was saying that, hey, late March or April, aim to collect additional 25,000 in premium on top of 21,000 already secured. That would bring a total profits of $46,000 in a month, right? So what I was doing is with only about, I would say, 15 to 20% of my portfolio for Clover, I was holding the rest. 20% only. I was doing covered calls and cash secured puts, and I was milking them. I was making 40 to 50, sometimes 70 to $80,000 a month, right? So somebody went ahead and someone said, I thought you said you wouldn't do covered calls because you didn't want to lose the shares at a low price. So Eric, ask your, can someone correct Eric? Because in the last video, I went ahead and I said, I am not doing covered calls right now. What is the difference between now and what I'm talking about? What date? Can someone correct him? Do you see, Eric, what you're confusing? This is February 2024, right? When the stock price was above $4, right? And then I made the video a couple days ago, right? And I said that I'm not doing covered calls at $3, right? Because that's, in my opinion, is very low. So you could see there's a difference in months, right? So again, it's all mental models. There's no one sufficient answer to answer it, but you have to look at the RSI. I looked at it. The stock is oversold right now, right? There's huge negative sentiment. I'm not going to do covered calls when there's huge negative sentiment, right? Because if I follow the average, I will become average, right? So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to teach you to think in opposites. If you can't do that, then you will remain average, right? So let's go ahead and let's start over again, okay? The stock price went from 60 cents to $4.86. Point B, I started doing covered calls and cash secured puts. This is point C. I'm not doing covered calls here. This, I am not, with a burning passion, I am not doing covered calls here, right? So let me just write it out. No covered calls. Well, cash secured puts are okay. No covered call for, I'm just buying out shares, but covered calls for me, right? So, when you say, why aren't you not doing that? What's going on? I'm not doing covered calls at 3. Why? Because the sentiment has changed now. If you were to graph the RSI, again, 70 means overbought, 30 means oversold. You would see the RSI was like this, and now we're like, let me just do a different color. The RSI was like this, and now we're pretty much like this, right? You see how I don't even have to I don't have to look at technical analysis. I can do it myself, right? And you could see it here on the daily. Here's the RSI when it hit $4.87. You could see the RSI was high, and then now it's recently dropped, right? And if you look at the hourly, you could see it here. Here it went from overbought to oversold. You see that? So it's a good question. It's a good question to ask. Like, wait a minute, I'm confused. again, this is an educational platform. I'm talking about the mentality, right? So let me go ahead and erase this. So now that we kind of massage the time point, right? Let's go further, right? So just to show you proof. Well, first, before I show you proof, let me just dissect this a little more because this needs some dissecting. So why was I comfortable about 25% to 20% of my portfolio? That means I was holding 80% of Clover, but I was doing covered calls of about 20% of them, right? Why was I comfortable doing that? Well, first off, retail investor sentiment was at its highest. People were buying calls, and there was a bunch of YOLO happening. You had Wall Street Bets started talking about Clove. And you had, people just going in and starting to say, no, I'm not doing covered calls. I'm going to buy more. People were like, people were making fun of others doing covered calls. So you had a frenzy of people that were like, oh my God, they were making fun of me, right? So, because they thought potentially the stock will continue going up. Now it can, I'm not saying it will, but I took a hedge and I said, you know what, 80%, if it goes up, I win. 20%, if it goes down, I'm going to win. And I won. I made like $400,000. I made 400K, right? So another thing, there were some people in our platform that were saying, I don't want to do covered calls on. So I started calling this FU money, right? Because I was printing money out of my ass. I was calling this FU money. I was like, well, yeah, this FU money. So yeah, I was making another 5. I made 5.5% in just 5 days. In just 5 days of contracts, I made 5.5%. So if you take 5 times 4, I was making over 20% per month on these 20% of shareholdings. And I was literally printing cash. And that's what I had it on my options hedge. And then our members were looking at it and they were looking like, oh, wow, this is a different way of thinking. Here it is, expiring March, locking an 8.18% gain. This was in February 18. Was crazy, right? We haven't even hit January when it hit an all-time high, right? We were doing, I sold a cash secured put at $3.50. I was playing both sides. I was doing cash secured puts and I was doing covered calls, right? So, and I was making so much premium, right? And you could see, I mean, the messages go on, and you could just see we started having a good time. We're like, we're just milking it. And then why are we here? We're here to make effing money, right? We could see what I was saying here, right? We were milking it, okay? So then now, what's going on now? So let's go ahead and let's kind of rehash this mental model of thinking. Okay. So as the stock price was going up, I said, you know what? I know the long term is beautiful. But since the stock price went up 600%, 653%, in fact, even more, then I would say there has to be a time where it consolidates. Look at any stock. Look at Palantir. There has to be some consolidation. Okay? So I said, you know what? I'm afraid to do covered calls on my whole position. So I just did it on 20%. 20% of my position, I would say I was okay to risk because I was thinking like a contrarian investor. The stock's up 653%. Others want to buy now. They don't want to sell. And they want to buy options. So the options chain was crazy. So I actually got more shares than I do now than ever, right? I was able to make, I kind of FU'd 100,000 grand. I had some fun, probably less. I spent like about maybe 58. I burned 80,000 just for fun. And the rest, I just bought more Clove, right? So it was fun. I had a great time. It was great, right? So now the question is, so now we understand that. Let's just go ahead and just kind of quickly see how much money can I make right now. So if I was to go in and if I was to do a covered call, let's say at 250, I could make right now $40,000 a week at $2.50. Now, again, that is insane. 40,000 a week is crazy, right? So 40,000 times 4, let's say, that's 160,000 a month. Let's say divide by 2, 80,000 to 160,000 a month. I am not doing that. Why in God's hell would I try to make over 100 grand a month? I'm leaving 100 grand on the table. I mean, I could have sold covered calls last week, right, at 3, but I don't care. I don't bat an eye because something happened. There is something happening right now that's my mental models in my mind is telling me, do not do that. My experience, 14 years, is telling me, you know what? I don't want to do that. Okay. So I'm going to explain my thoughts. Again, you don't have to listen to me, right? Take whatever I say as a grain of salt. Okay. But I'm explaining to you my thinking from an educational perspective. Okay. Because remember, I'm gonna repeat this again. If everybody goes left, I don't go left. I go right. I don't follow the crowd because the crowd is average and I don't want to be average. Okay. In investing, you cannot follow the crowd. Plain and simple. Okay. Let me drink some coffee. Okay. So then now, let's go back to our chalk talk. So the question now is, wait, hold on. So when I was selling covered calls and cash secured puts, I had some folks in our platform saying, I don't want to do that, Al. Not everybody has FU money. And I said, well, I mean, I'm just defining it as FU money. It's 20% of my holdings. Yeah, I have big holdings, but if I had, let's say, a tenth of what I had, I can take 25% of a tenth. Hell, I can take a rice grain and I can take 25% of a rice grain, right? You get what I'm saying? Like you could take 25% of anything, right? So once I saw people saying, I don't want to do covered calls. No, FOMO. I knew I was doing a good decision. Okay. Now let's go ahead and let's talk about point C. So why am I against covered calls? Retail sentiment, Delta, has changed. Retail sentiment now are sad. They're depressed. They're sad. Okay. What else? What else have I noticed? Oh, I'm getting a lot of people, lots of people saying, well, Al, I think it's going to go below $2.50 it might go to $2. And what I'll do is it probably might go up a little bit, then come down, and I can go ahead and I can just basically buy this now. What you're doing is you're starting to have people start to forecast the stock price. Whenever you start seeing people start forecasting the stock price, and they believe it. It's going to go down. I'm going to go. I'm going to buy. I'm going to go take it here. I'm going to go there. I love accumulating. The word love. Don't use love for a stock. Don't ever use emotions for stock, right? So whenever you start seeing people saying, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to go and do this. I'm going to sell this. I'm going to buy when it goes lower. Whenever you start seeing forecasting, it starts to tell me that there's a lot of capitulation happening now, right? Right? Which is interesting, right? Why? What else? Like, why am I not doing covered calls now? Because I can make 40 grand this week. I can make 40 freaking dollars. I can make $40,000 freaking dollars by this Friday. I can make 40,000 and I can go freaking do whatever I want with that money, right? I can go put it all over my bed and I can just basically swim around in it and, jump up and down with my dog, right? Right? I was going to say something else, but I'm not going there, okay? But I'm not doing that, okay? Right? I was going to say, I'll talk about it in my lifetime access group, but I'm not doing that, right? Right. I'm only thing I'm going to be swimming in, is my books, right? When I read at night, right? I don't want anything of this money. I don't want that money, right? So you're starting to see retail investors forecast. Okay. What else? You're starting to see crazy movements in stock for 3.5 stars when we are actually being paid 3.5 stars now. So there technically hasn't been a change, even though in 2026, we are going to be paid 4 stars. So I know that next year is going to be cush. Next year is going to be cush, right? So I know next year is going to be great, but yet now people are like, retail investors are like, no. The other thing that I'm going to do another graph. The other thing that I'm looking at is institutional ownership. Institutional ownership literally went from like this to now higher than it's been before. And I think it's going to go higher. So I see institutional ownership go up. Okay. The question is, how? Always ask yourself, why? If you don't ask yourself why and you take everything as fact, then you're no different than the people that we make fun of that just take everything as fact. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, you're no different than than those people, right? I mean, you got to question everything, right? So why is institutional ownership going up? Like, where are they getting these shares from? Well, it's very simple. Don't make it a conspiracy here, right? It's no, because retail is selling. Retail is selling, and institutions are picking it up. I mean, it's very simple, right? So there it is there. Okay. So what I'm seeing now, and I hope I was able to break down the psychology, is I essentially pretty much got my shares for free, right? All of this I have is pretty much house's money, which is pretty great, which is why I'm chilling right now. I'm having a great time. I'm chilling. It's house's money. Because I was able to effectively do this, and I can't wait to do this again, right? But it's gonna be a little bit more dangerous because of the SaaS. But we'll figure it out when the time comes. But I'll figure it out, right? Obviously, it's just it's just educational. So this is not financial advice, right? Nothing here is financial advice, right? take everything I say as a grain of salt. In fact, take whatever I say and then go wipe it in your butt, right? That's pretty much what, I mean, I'm telling you, do not listen to what I'm saying. This is not financial advice. I'm just an educator. I'm just trying to teach you how to think. I'm just teaching you a way of thinking. That's all I'm telling you, all I'm doing is doing the opposite of what the majority is doing, and I'm making money. That's it. That's it. That's all I'm doing. And I'm just showing you, you don't have to follow it, right? It's just an educational platform. I'm just exploring and talking to you guys. You guys don't have to watch this, right? But I think this is a very cool, better than any psychology class you can think of. All right. Okay. So now that we kind of investigated kind of what's going on here in regards to just people forecasting the stock, people saying, oh, it's going to go down here, go there. It's really funny, right? So that tells me that we are seeing some capitulation. But there's other things too. Again, we can't just look at one thing. First off, this is my little birthday boy. It's his birthday. He's a cutie. Look at that face. Look at that face. I want to kiss. I just want to eat his nose. I was like, mwah. Freaking love that nose, dude. Look at that. And his little birthday. They didn't have the larger cakes. I had to call a day in advance, and his dad is stupid. So I got whatever they could have in the store, and I got him some, like, honestly, this is way better because he has like cupcakes. This is a place that is strictly for dogs. Like it's a dog bakery place. And I was able to give him some, yeah, he enjoyed it, man. He enjoyed it. He has more, he has leftovers. So I've been giving him some chicken feed and everything. He's my baby boy. I love that boy. Always want to get you. Come on, dude. Come on, man. Look at that. Look at that face. Look at that face. Right? Oh my God. Right. All right. Anywho, that's enough. I love my dog. Oh my gosh. All right. So, all right. Now, so Al, you need to get married and have children. No, I really do. I really do. But I mean, come on, man. He's not cute. Look at that baby boy. I just want to kiss him. I love my boy. I really do need to have some kids, man. Hold on. Maybe I have some kids, some infant fever, whatever they call it, baby fever. But I just love him. Just look at that face, man. Come on. You have to admit. Just come on, guys. I mean, look at that freaking face. Like, I just want to do a covered call just for that face. I forgot. I love him. He's so cute. Okay. All right. Enough. I got to stop. I'm going to close the window so I don't keep talking about it. All right. So, let's go forward. Okay. All right. So a couple critiques, Andrew. I know you watch our videos here. A couple critiques. Clover Health comments on 2026 Medicare Advantage star ratings and trajectory for increased profitability for 2027. Andrew, I love you. Last year, you put 4 stars in the title. Own it, man. Just put 3.5 stars in the title. Put it. Hey, we were awarded this. We got 3.5 stars. It's okay. Put it in there. You don't have to remove it from the title. Put it in there. Okay. All right. So that's like a critique, right? I'm not going to send him an email. I'm just saying it. He's, people see the video, right? So, hold on. Another email. Okay. We're good. Okay. So, I'm not going to go ahead and read all this. I think the big thing I want to read, well, I mean, this is an important, bold one. They say, company underscores differentiated business model, reiterates confidence in the ability to drive above market membership growth and increasing adjusted EBITDA profitability through 2027 independent of star rating. So that's good. Increasing adjusted EBITDA profitability. So that tells me that their profitability for EBITDA is going to be a lot better than what it is in 2025, right? So that answers my question. Also, it's going to be above market growth. That means that even them being advertised at 3.5 stars, they're going to be. So that answers my question. That's great. Okay, fine. But this is where Andrew Toy put some pressure on himself, and I think he's the type of person that won't do that. He's very calculative, especially pre-written formula set to release in Global Newswire, right? So this is kind of what I was talking about here with my. And by the way, I was talking to my members last week. I didn't have time to do a live, so we were doing an internal live, and we're going to be doing more of those rather than going live because it's just nice. I can just talk in the audio format. So, so here it is. So let's just read this here, okay? And then we could talk about, policy changes and whatnot. But this is the biggest thing for me. So it says here, hold on for a second. Okay, we're good. All right. Sorry. All right. So it says here, our technology-centric care strategy fortunately puts us in a position where star ratings does not dominate our results in a way it does other plans. So what does that mean? What does that mean your star ratings doesn't dominate, right? Your MA business is star ratings, right? So like what, right? So okay, Andrew Choi said this, okay. So let's go further. With the year-over-year AI-driven improvements that we see in Clover Assistant and the momentum and additional doctors signing up for our platform, again, he says Clover Assistant. He didn't say counterpart. And then for our platform, I think that's counterpart, right? We feel our business model can offset any effect of star ratings. We are built to offer amazing wide network benefits to our members independent of the star ratings. And while we drive growth and profitability while doing so yada, 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 yada. The big thing is here. Okay. Feel is okay. Feel is a soft word, right? But he says that, or we could just kind of focus on kind of these words here. Okay. Our business model can offset any effect from the star ratings. I'm going to repeat this a couple times. Our business model can offset any effect from the star ratings. I'm going to shorten it. Our business model can offset star ratings. I'm going to kind of change it up a little bit. Our business model can offset the 3.5 stars in 2027. Okay. I'm going to say that one again. Our business model can offset 3.5 stars in 2027, right? So let's go ahead and dissect that. Okay. So by doing this, we go down here. We have a timeline. Here's 2025, here's 2026, and here's 2027 forward. Here we're being paid 3.5 stars. And we're still EBITDA, right? We're still doing great, right? Part D it has hurt us. There is some increased utilization. How much of that versus the Part D effect is hurting us? I don't know. We know that Part D is going to be less. We know that Part D is going to be a lot better in 2026. This is 2026. We know that oopsies. We know that stock-based compensation is going to be a lot better in 2026, right? In regards to foundry shares being less, right? But the cool part is in 2026 we're going to be paid 4 stars. Right. So we have an increase in about 5% bonus, which according to the, 2025 year, that's going to be an additional $50 million that we're going to make off of that, which unfortunately offsets the EBITDA that we have in accordance to one of the analysts. Right. But the fact that he said that 2027 is going to be growing more EBITDA, that's a bit abnormal. Now, obviously, 2026, we're going to be paid 4 stars, which obviously our EBITDA is going to be insane. The question is, are we going to keep doing growth? From the last article, it says throughout 2027. So I believe yes. So there's that, right? So I want to say, we have the 4 stars to really help us. And that's kind of, we'll talk about that later, but then all of a sudden, 2027, we're going to have 3.5 stars. Okay. Now there's a couple of pathways you can break in your mental model here. Okay. There's a couple things. Okay. So here's the 3.5 stars that we heard from. There could be 3 pathways. There could be a couple pathways here. One is CMS reverses it and we go back to 4 stars. Okay. The other pathway is, like they appeal it, right? The other pathway is, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do, the SAS, which is going to offset the 3.5 stars, which is going to make it look like we're at 4. And that is what he said. The other way we could look at it is, we're going to go ahead and focus on customer service. And doctor's handwriting, right? It's customer service. And then later on in 2028, we're going to be 4 stars. So, one is, we already know they're already doing this pathway, because if you read further, they say that they're in active, Clover continues to actively engage with CMS to ensure that its assigned star ratings appropriately capture the strength and equity of its MA offering. So there could be a reversal. Okay. Also, we believe that the industry is entering a period where Congress and CMS will take a hard look at the star ratings program, measures quality and improvements that actually benefit members' health outcomes rather than the customer service that it basically is derived from. Now, again, Amazon, you want, Andrew Toy, think about Jeff Bezos. It's all about customer service. And again, this is more healthcare. Again, it's tough because sometimes you have patients that come to our clinics that say, give us this, we need this, and right now we need this pain med. It's like, no, you're not the doctor. You're not going to tell me how to prescribe medicine to you, because, I'm not prescribing you opioids, right? So, sometimes there's some of that, right? And you have to come, put your foot down, right? And then, you get bad customer service and whatnot. It's usually the family members that complain. Family members I've seen, sometimes they come in the hospital, and it's good to diffuse the situation by, just listening and making sure you reassure them. But chances are it's coming from an area of ignorance and being uneducated. Because, you have families that come in and they take a lot of time. They come in. Let me just kind of tell you a little bit from my experience. They come in and say, we want everything to be done. We want nothing to be overlooked. And they spend a good 15, 20 minutes, lecturing us about kind of what we need to look at, what we need to do. But the problem is they're not medically educated. They know nothing. They work at, let's say finance or whatever. They work at a different job. And so it's like, well, that extra 20 minutes that we're basically speaking to you and talking to you, that's taking time from the patient's care, from us discussing differential diagnosis. So again, it's a lot of these things. In medical school, what they do is they just very quickly, you have a patient, and then you have the MD or DO, right? Or NP or PA. They come in with, the patient comes in with things that they need to do, and the doctor or healthcare provider has something that they need to provide and do. These are the things that the patient needs, and these are the things that the doctor needs. The problem is this is obviously the most important, but to the patient, this is the most important, right? So what you got to do is you got to meet them halfway to address both needs together, right? And utilize the biopsychosocial model and et cetera, right? So these are the kind of types of philosophy that you want to do. You want to make sure you're not just going to say, screw you, patient. You don't know what you're doing. This is what you need. Well, and if you do that, you're a shitty doctor, right? You're a crap doctor. You're shit, right? You're just garbage, right? I know that seems very harsh. Well, yeah, you're garbage, right? Because you need to earn patients' trust, and you sometimes you just have to listen to them, right? So don't be a shitty doctor, right? So that's, something, right? So you got to listen to the patient. And sometimes, even if what they're saying is not medically necessary, and you have to take care of these small things, so then we can get to the big things that will make the patient happy and healthier, right? So that's the goal. I didn't showcase the biopsychosocial model here, but this is the Venn diagram. The patient comes in with one area, and then so let me just do this again here, right? So this garbage here. So here's the patient comes in with one thing, and here's the doctor, right? The patient comes in with some things, and the doctor comes in with some things, but you need to go ahead and address both, right? You just can't focus on your needs. You have to focus on the patient's needs too, okay? Because sometimes you may miss something that the patient tells you, and it may be life-threatening, and this is how you catch something, right? Maybe out of 1,000 patients, you might be able to save one. So I think it's worth listening to patients. All right, but anywho, so the point is from that perspective, I would say so now that we kind of know the dynamics and the outcomes of where we could essentially go to, let's go to the statement here. We feel our business model can offset any effect of star rating. So what does that mean? So when you have a patient, so in 2027, they're going to get paid 3.5 stars, which is effectively a 5% reduction from 2026, which we technically haven't seen yet, right? So with that, I think we are going to get a $50 million to $100 million reduction. So I think we're going to lose about $100 million, or let's say we're going to lose about 50 million. We're going to lose about 50 to $100 million in EBITDA in 2027, right? From like, imagine 2026's growth, right? But if he is saying that our business model can offset any effect of star ratings, then that's effectively giving us data. He effectively just showed his hand to me. He pretty much said that the SaaS business in 2027 is going to be anywhere between $50 million to $100 million. Right? So that's what he's basically telling me. So they're about to make maybe 50 to 100 million in 2027 of counterpart money. So if that's the case, let's take the halfway point and let's say it's going to be $75 million. So if it's 75 million from SaaS, we can effectively do open evidence type of private, which is 70x price to sales. We can do TEM stock, which is around 17, and we can do the standard, which is around 6.5x. So by doing that, I'm going to get my calculator here. So 75 million times 70, that's like the highest, right? That's like a $5.2 billion bump, which is equivalent to over $10 stock price just in SaaS. We're not even counting the Medicare Advantage business. Being more humbly, let's do 17, which is like, TEM stock. That's about, 1.27 billion, which is, divide that by 1,000 times 2. That's about an additional $2.55 plus your $2.50, which will get you to $5 stock price. And then 6.5, which is the lower end of SaaS for more developed companies, I would say. That's an additional 487 million, which is about $1 added on to the $2.50, altogether $3. This is going to be $12.50 altogether. So with that, this is with 75 million. The question is this going to be more? So the first question is, there's $2 billion questions here. Question one is, how much is going to be the input? So input, like how much is SaaS going to make? That's the first question. The second question is, well, what is going to be the price to sales? Those are the two main questions, right? Now, for the input, Steve Jobs said that it is hard to predict the future, but you got to look at the past in order to predict the future. Well, we know that there's this guy named Blaine Lindsley who used to be the growth of enterprise. Remember, enterprise. Remember that word. I want you to remember the word enterprise, because we're going to talk about Nvidia right now and how it could be connected to Clover in the future. You're going to be like, what in the world? That's my speculation, by the way. But we're going to talk about Blaine and how he got hired for Counterpart. So let's talk about Blaine. Blaine took a company, and it was making less than 185 million all the way to 475 million. So have they hired someone that has been able to take Al Daddy revenue in just 2 years, from 185 million to 475 million? Okay, yeah. So now let's replace 2020, because remember, Blaine came in 2020 and he basically exploded the revenue growth of this company, right? So if we were to take this right now, in 2 years, he was able to make $475 million. It's 2025 now. So imagine, 2 years from now, 2027 to 2028, I'm confident in their, especially they've already scaled, right? It's not like Blaine is coming into an empty slate Counterpart. They've already assigned deals to do connected care, to, all these, areas that have managed themselves really effectively. So it's not like Blaine is coming into an empty pizza, right? The pizza's already in the oven, right? He's just essentially, making sure there's more pizzas to be cooked, right? So there's that perspective, right? So again, I'm you see how I'm showing you, these mental models, right? And again, you do what you want to do. I don't, I'm living my life. I'm gonna be a doctor. My significant other is gonna be a doctor. We're already that, by itself, is crazy. Then I have my investments, my real estate, her real estate. Like I'm sitting good, right? So at the end of the day, this is just me providing my thoughts. At the end of the day, you're the captain of your own ship, and you decide. You could go ahead and for all I care, take your Clover and go buy AMC. Right? Again, there's no hype here. There's no it's none of that. It's just here are my thoughts from an academic perspective, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you, and that's it. It is what it is, right? And I'll let the test of time be the judge, right? So let's massage this, okay? I'm thinking. Yeah. Okay. So now let's go ahead and go back to the chalk talk here, okay? That's a shitty bottle. I am not an artist. That's a Coca-Cola bottle. You can't see it. I just drew it. Where the hell? That's a Coca-Cola bottle. Okay. Right now, if I was to give you $1 billion, do you think you could disrupt Coca-Cola? You really think do you think that you could basically end Coca-Cola's business? The answer is no. What happens if I give you $50 billion? Do you think you can disrupt it? Let's say if I was to give you $100 billion, do you think you can disrupt their business? If you seriously think you can, then you are wrong. Not even Warren Buffett said he couldn't even do it with $100 billion. If Warren Buffett couldn't do it, you really think you can? Right? So let's be honest, right? So the point is you want to get into a position where, like for me, I'm in this to make money, right? So, I want to make money, and so I got to learn from the history. So I can't disrupt Coca-Cola's business. So that's probably a good business to get. There could be a nuclear bomb, and nuclear fallout. And, if someone had the ingredients of Coca-Cola, I'm sure they could still become $1 billion business in the new world order, right? Because I would exchange 10 minutes of my hour work for a nice freaking Coke. Maybe they can make it fresh, right? So now let's go ahead and apply the same concept now, but this time to AI, right? Let's talk about AI. If I give you $1 billion right now, could you make the whole world stop using AI? If I gave you $1 billion right now, could you make anyone stop using ChatGPT? The answer is no. Screw it. I'm going to give you $400 trillion. And I want you to make everybody to stop using AI. Do you really think they're going to stop using AI? Do you seriously think people are going to stop using AI? Yeah, they might lie to you and say, hey, I'll take the money and I'll stop using it, as they basically on the side use it behind your back, right? The point is, you're not going to stop the movement and progression of AI. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care what government you are. I don't care what regulations you put. You're not stopping this technology. Okay? This technology is going to be in your face. Okay? So then now, I'm teaching you how to think, right? I'm teaching you to think in derivatives. Okay, how do you think from we took a simple example of Coca-Cola, right? And now let's extrapolate it. So we know that AI, most people, you talk to, normal people, some of them don't even know what AI is, but the majority of people, you speak to them now, they'll say, oh, AI, oh, yeah. It's that chatbot. It's the chatbot. That's all they know. It's a chatbot. You ask them, let's just kind of do another new page. You ask them AI, you're like, oh yeah. It's a chatbot. You ask them, who's the owner of it? They don't know. I don't know. They're not going to know. You got Open AI, you got Gemini, which is technically Google. You got Llama, which is technically Meta, which is technically Facebook. You got XAI, which is technically X, which is technically Elon, which is technically Twitter in a way, Elon Musk. You got Clyde, which is technically Anthropic. I mean, do you really think the normal naysayers or normal day Americans or the world knows this? They just know it's a freaking chatbot you talk to make you cheat on exams. That's all they know. That's it. Because people think simple. People are simple-minded creatures. Just like when you watch Animal Discovery Nature, you have the little animals go drink their water, they go do their thing, they have kids, and they die. It's a very simple life. I'm teaching you to be better than that. I'm teaching you to become a thinker, to become a philosopher. Okay? So now that you have this, the question you have to ask yourself, how does this work? Well, there's something's powering this. Okay? What's powering this? So we're just going to go ahead and put an arrow here. Something's powering this, and it's called a GPU. Okay, what is a GPU, and why, and how is it different? And always ask yourself why. How is it different than a CPU? What is a CPU versus what is a GPU? So to answer this question, we're going to go ahead and we're going to watch a video really quickly, and we're going to say GPU versus CPU. And we're going to explain it through an analogy called art. Okay. So to answer this question, I'm going to just kind of show you this video. This is so this is a CPU. A CPU is going to do some artwork, and what it does is it's trying to make a smiley face, and it has to make a smiley face one thought at a time. One ding. Ding, 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 ding. Okay? Singular, in series, not in parallel. So you get ding, 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 ding. And that's a smiley face. That's how a CPU thinks. Now I'm going to show you Nvidia, right? I'm going to show you what a GPU does, right? What a GPU does, and this is kind of how we have large language models. Here's a GPU, and very quickly, I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of basically pause. You see this little logo right there? I'm going to just take a little screenshot here, and we're going to go here, and we're going to zoom in. You see that logo there? Almost looks like a little spiral, and it's green and it's white. What logo is that, guys? What logo is that? Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is Nvidia. This is the stock that I called out at around, literally $17. Pre-adjusted was $177, right? It was right around here. And you can find it pre-adjusted when it was only $400 billion in market cap. Now it's 4.5 trillion. And you can see that at alstocktrades.com in the sample video, right? But you see this little squiggly line here? That's Nvidia. That is a GPU. So you see this little squiggly line here? That squiggly line is a GPU. Now we're going to look at the difference between a CPU and a GPU. We just showed you that a CPU is essentially ... Now let me give you an example what a GPU looks like, right? So here's GPUs, and within 1 second, what do you think how fast is going to make that smile? It's going to make that smile pretty quickly, don't you think? Look at all these holes, right? Let's see how fast it makes this smile, right? And I say this facetiously. Look at all that. Look at all within 80 milliseconds. What do you think it's going to make? Do you think all these are going to be making a smile? Let's see what it makes. Look at all those paintings. And amazingly, as soon as you have that, what do? You have the Mona Lisa. It is able to create the Mona Lisa in parallel sequence. Okay? Again, the whole point is I'm trying to teach you, because most people look at this, does the stock go up or the stock go down, right? Most people are like, that's all they think. Again, just like the gazelle and the giraffe, they go to the pond, they drink and they eat and they have sex and they have kids and they die. It's a simple life. I want to go deeper because I want to understand the world around me, okay? So now that we understand the difference between a GPU versus a CPU works, we could kind of remember, go back in physics, it works in series, right? A CPU, we're talking, you see how we're doing physics now, right? A CPU, a GPU, if you may, works in parallel. You can accomplish a lot. Let's go deeper. So a GPU, what it does is it's able to take a whole bunch of information. Let's give it into the perspective of Clover Health. It can take the patient's HPI. It can take the patient's discharge notes that the IM doctors write at the hospital. It can take the patient's genetic information. It could take the patient's labs, right? It can take orders that were done, the impressions that the radiologists read. And then it comes all together, formulates, and uses the New England Journal of Medicine to find healthcare gaps and is able to recommend a series of healthcare gaps and potential differential diagnosis, which we're not there yet. But then the MD is able to basically, through feedback loop systems, train this model. And now you have these chatbots, right? But the problem is, what's the next derivative? The next derivative is enterprise applications. Think of open evidence or counterpart. But don't take my word for it. Let's go ahead and take an opportunity to listen to Jensen Huang and look at it from that perspective. So let's go ahead and let's just watch this video. I'm going to watch it at 2 times the speed until I get to a position where I want you to listen. Right now, I just want you to absorb, and then we'll slow it down to make it make sense to the area I want us to get to. Okay? So to do that, let's go ahead and let's sign. No. Let's go here. And let me know if you guys can hear this.
because that has been something that has raised a lot of questions on Wall Street since you cut this deal with OpenAI. Yesterday, Bloomberg is reporting that you have a $2 billion in financing that you're going to be involved with XAI to help them with these same stories. But this idea of circular financing, your customers can't afford to buy these chips yet, so you're going to help them out with money along the way. That leads some people to think back to what happened with companies during the big buildup like Lucent or Nortel in the early days. Is this different, and if so, how?
Well, first of all, XAI, I'm super excited about the financing opportunity that they're doing. You know, if the only regret I have about XAI, we're an investor already. The only regret I have is I didn't give them more money. You know, almost everything that Elon's part of, you really want to be part of as well. And he gave us the opportunity to invest in XAI. I'm just delighted by that. And so that's an investment into a really great future company, and I'm really excited about that. That's not vendor financing per se. But what's going on in the world versus what happened in 2000 is just dramatically different. You know, back then, as you recall, there were pets.com, hospitals.com, and all of the internet companies combined was what, $30-40 billion in size. If you look at the hyperscalers now, that's where the first tranche of AI infrastructure is building. If you look at the hyperscalers, at about $2.5 trillion of business that's already operating today. That business, that $2.5 trillion business, and the capex that goes underneath that is about, call it $500 billion. That transition from a classical CPU-based computing to now generative AI computing powered by GPUs, that transition is just starting.
Stop. What did he just say right now? Again, I'm teaching you the building blocks so you can see the world. Listen, guys, listen. Let's repeat what he said.
So we've got computing. That transition from a classical CPU-based computing to now generative AI computing powered by GPUs.
You see that transition between CPUs, which is the ... smile, to the Mona Lisa, right? That's the world that we're living in. Listen, guys, listen. Okay, Charlie Munger, rest in peace, and thank you for helping me think and actually live a better life. Rest in peace, man. God bless you. Like just amazing guy, right? Charlie Munger. He made a comment about I would rather learn from the imminent dead that have been successful. To me, he's still alive. I talk in a way. He's like he talks to me when I read his books, right? Just a very quick tangent. When I was poor in high school, all my classmates were visiting. They had Christmases and stuff. I was sleeping in an alleyway, right? I was sleeping on a floor. I was eating from trash. That was my life. What's crazy is the hardest part was during the holidays, but a lot of my friends were traveling the world. I couldn't do that, but you know what I did? I read books about the places they traveled to. So like when my friends talked about Disneyland or whatever, I could tell them the history of Walt Disney, and I won't be able to answer specific questions like, hey, do you know this ride? Sometimes they make new rides. I didn't know how to answer that, but I can tell them about the history of Walt Disney and how it looks like, and the characters and like the Taj Mahal in India. I used reading to travel because it was free. I had a library, and it was free to pick up a book and learn. What I'm trying to teach you right now, guys, is how to. Because I just explained to you right now. Why do you think why do you think I have a freaking pen right now doing an iPad? Right? I just showed you the differentiation between CPUs and GPUs, and then here it is, Jensen, his $4.5 billion company, most valuable company in the world, more valuable than Apple. You go speak to someone out there right now, not even Michelle, and she's with me and understands that Apple, Nvidia is the most valuable company, more valuable than Apple. Okay. I'm trying to show you the world around you. I'm giving you a mental model of the world and where the world is headed to. Most people don't understand the mental model of the world. They're stuck in what their parents have taught them, and they are true to themselves, which is unfortunately not a good behavior, because if you're true to yourself and you believe everything you learn as a kid and refute any new material, then you are destined to have a hard life. Okay? So, that's what I'm trying to show you right now. All I'm doing. I'm not a genius, okay? If you think I'm a genius, then you're stupid, right? I'm no genius, right? All I am is just a guy who reads. I read a book last night. I use Speechify. It helps me read fast. But it's crazy. I'm at like 25 books this month. It's freaking crazy. But I just read. I read. And sometimes I read the same book again because it's like I forget. Like I haven't read Charlie Munger in years. I'm reading him again. It's like it's like dating. It's like I'm falling back in love with him. It's like I'm dating him again, right? It's really weird. It sounds really wrong, but I'm just telling you like how I get into it, right? It's like when I read a book, it's like I have Peter Lynch in front of me, and it's like I'm whenever Peter Lynch says a joke in the book, it's like I'm laughing with him, like he's just sitting right in front of me, and I'm just having a conversation with him, right? And what that is, I'm developing my own mental model, right? Because then I can go in my brain, I'm like, okay, how would Peter Lynch approach this problem? How would Charlie Munger approach this problem, right? I'm building my own natural language processing in my mind to have all these people come together, and I take all this worldly knowledge, right? Thomas Jefferson, Ben Franklin, all these people, and I just put them in my mind, and they all talk to each other, and then I have, and it makes me, right, and my decisions. So all I'm doing is I'm just showing you I'm pushing a light where you're not looking at right now, and I'm just painting a picture. Let's continue to what he says. He says important things in these videos, okay? Listen.
That transition is just starting. So we've got to build into $500 billion worth of capacity infrastructure that's already naturally growing by itself, and we're in the beginning phases of that. If you just look at Nvidia's AI infrastructure business, call it a couple of $100 billion so far, you're a couple of $100 billion into a multi-trillion-dollar build out. So that's number one. The second part of it that's really unique is that we have a new generation of AI companies. The new AI companies like OpenAI and Anthropic and xAI and companies that are.
You see, what did he just do? He just talked about the new companies, OpenAI, xAI, Elon, Anthropic. What is Anthropic? Didn't I mention Anthropic? It's Clyde. Remember I showed you Anthropic? Yeah? Okay. Guess what he's going to mention now? And we're going to go ahead and slow it down because now we've reached a point where we need to listen. Okay, now let's go ahead and listen to the rest of this.
The new AI companies like OpenAI and Anthropic and xAI and companies that are Thinking Machine Labs from Mira and Ilya Sutskever's SSI and Misha's company Reflection. And I mean, there's a whole bunch of amazing AI model builders now. This generation of AI model builders, what's happened in the last several months, a transition happened that is really, really important. For the last several years, they've been generating tokens, these AI tokens, basically at a loss. And the reason for that is because the early AI models they were super interesting, really captivated a lot of attention, but they weren't useful enough to pay for. The last several months, it's been very clear that the new technology is now reasoning, it's doing research. Before it answers a question, it goes on the web and studies other PDFs and websites. It can now use tools, generate information for you, and it creates responses that are really useful. I use it every day to the point where now the tokens are profitable.
The question, though, is who is going to continue to pay for that build out? Is it the big companies like a Procter and Gamble? Is it consumers who are going to do this? I mean, my doctor. She
just asked a question right now. Who's going to be paying for these tokens? Are the consumers going to be paying for it? She's about to say something. She's about to say, doctor, I need you to listen. I'm telling you right now, what she's about to say right now is what's going to make me a multi-millionaire. 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 Okay? Listen.
Procter and Gamble. Is it consumers who are going to do this? I mean, my doctor showed me the AI that he's using, and it's incredibly helpful, but there's still a question about whether he's going to pay for it or the company he works for is going to pay for it.
Well, hopefully both. I think
so the doctor, who's going to pay for this stuff? Is it like who's going to be paying for this AI? Is it the doctor going to be paying for it or the company he's working for? I mean, based off of, because she doesn't know this. She has no idea. She has all these companies she's talking about. She's busy. She just has no idea, right? She's not, I'm not trying to put her down. She's amazing. I like her. I had a crush on her since I was a kid. I mean, I like her a lot, right? So, so the thing is she's not a researcher. Okay. She doesn't do research. She's a journalist, right? I'm a researcher, right? As you can see, my Google Scholar, in its infancy, but I have like 30 papers about to submit. So I mean, I have stuff, right? So big researcher. You can see our lab, the Al Stock Trades lab, right? And you can see what I've created. So with that, I just, she asked a question. She's like, who's going to pay for this? She doesn't know this, but like Duke is paying for a counterpart now. It's AI. Humana just got a subdomain, and we already know there's national. So I think they're paying it. I think they're paying Clover as well, a counterpart. They're paying for it. Iowa Clinic, they're paying for it. And apparently doctors are signing up. They might be paying for it too. So it's both enterprise. I need you to basically focus on the word enterprise, because he's about to say it. And what did we just do? Counterpart just made a new domain called enterprise, right? So just listen.
There's the consumer part of it. A lot of OpenAI customers are consumers, and they're paying for it. But the thing that's really cool is that the enterprise AI build out that's happening now, I
need you to listen to these words. These next words are important. He said the enterprise build out. What does enterprise mean? Applications. And applications of what?
AI build out that's happening now. But the thing that's really cool is that the enterprise AI build out that's happening now, my favorite enterprise AI service is Cursor. Cursor is an AI coder, and every one of our engineers, 100%, is now assisted by AI coders, and our productivity has gone up incredibly. And so you're now seeing enterprise AI companies like Cursor, Open Evidence, I love Lovable. All of these companies are some of the fastest. Cursor, Open has gone engineers.
What did he just say? How many times have I told you about Open Evidence? Open Evidence, just $50 million. Like I told you about the 70x price of sales. Remember I told you about Open Evidence? I'm a member. This is me. I'm a member. I get it for free. They signed a contract with JAMA, New England Journal of Medicine. Open Evidence, I'm using it, right? So Jensen Huang just talked about and mentioned Open Evidence, and specifically, they made 50 million, or about to make 50 million, and they're being evaluated at $3.5 billion. If Clover was evaluated at $3.5 billion, they would essentially be worth a $7 stock price. But we already know that they're going to be at that SaaS level, at least. Now, I don't know about the price of sales evaluation, but I can say that because the 4 stars to 3.5 stars downgrade in 2027, and they're saying that our star ratings can, our AI model can offset the star ratings. Well, that means they're going to make anywhere between 50 to 100 million. They have the Al Daddy Blaine guy who was able to take it from 100 to 475 million. So imagine when we get into this AI balloon, crazy, bubble, what is going to happen, honestly, to Clover Health and what price of sales we are going to be seeing, right? But let's just continue to hear what he says about Open Evidence. Wait, hold on. Let's share this tab.
Is now assisted by AI coders, and our productivity has gone up incredibly. And so you're now seeing enterprise AI companies like Cursor, Open Evidence, I love Lovable. All of these companies are some of the fastest growing companies in the world, and they address
fastest growing companies in the world. Fastest growing companies in the world. Now, what is Lovable, right? If we go to we go to Lovable and we go to stock, this is the Lovable stock. App Lovin', this is Lovable, right? Look at this. Look at this. It literally went up 4-bagger. And if we go ahead and actually share this tab instead, and we go hit app, it's following the same dialogue. 2023, it became positive on a net income perspective. As soon as it went from negative to positive net income in 2023, it automatically became a triple dragon because it's already free cash flow positive. And then since 2023, it became a triple dragon. What ended up happening to Lovable? It literally went from $13 all the way up to, $600 plus. Right now it's like 590 because it dipped a little bit. Okay, again, it goes back to our mental models regarding intrinsic value calculation. You see how everything's basically working together? You got fundamental analysis, intrinsic value, understanding the whole spectrum of what this AI build out looks like, right? You see how there's multiple layers of thinking. It's not just little, it's not, everything is connected. I have engineering philosophy background. I have all these connected, medicine background. All this is basically stacked on top of each other. I have multiple layers of knowledge and they're all connected and they're all working in parallel. Versus retail investors just look at one lens at a time. They look at all color and red, then they take it off, and they look at all color and blue, and that's all they do. It's a very simple-minded way of living, just like the National Discovery Channel. You have the animals that go to the water, they drink, they have sex, they have kids, and they die. Very simple life, right? A life not examined is not a life worth living. Okay, so now let's just go back to Professor Jensen here. And I learned more from him than any professor. Let's listen to what he says. Enterprise AI. Before we listen to Professor Jensen, let me just very quickly just talk about this really quickly. And we talked about this, and we were able to find this subdomain even before Twitter found it in our platform here. But let's look at Professor Jensen AI looking and talking about the whatchamacallit enterprise here. Let's see if we can find it here. Oh, I can't see it before I find it. Was it Rapala? It's in our platform, but wanted to show you on Twitter so you guys can see it. Here it is. Look at that. Enterpriseregistration.counterport.com. Enterprise AI. Okay. And we know that Eldaddy was able to grow more than 50% year over year. And Clover is about to, I believe, become the next fastest growing AI company. Okay. Let's go back now to what he's saying.
The Cursor, Open Evidence, I love Lovable. All of these companies are some of the fastest growing companies in the world, and they address enterprise. And so enterprise AI is here.
I wonder how you think about, Jensen, the ultimate destination where all this is actually building toward. I don't know, there was a post from David Conn, he's a Sequoia partner, this week saying, look, AGI is the only thing that can justify the volumes of capital spending right now with artificial general intelligence. At the same time, many of the model builders and experts are pushing out the date where that maybe is going to be achievable. Meantime, you're talking about annual generations of chips. How fast do they depreciate? We're putting all this capital in these data centers that it's just not clear like when we get to the end, or is it just a treadmill?
We are going to have incredibly profitable and incredibly useful AIs long before AGI. Mm-hmm. And for example, right now, Cursor AI, Cursor's AI software coder is incredibly useful. All of our engineers use it. We have some 40,000 engineers. Almost every one of them are going to use it, and they're loving it. And so we're
using it instead of something else, presumably, right? So these are displacing things.
Yeah, they're not. This is a brand new thing.
Yeah.
Remember, AI, unlike previous technologies are tools that humans use. Excel is a tool that humans use. A web browser is a tool that humans use. For the very first time, we have technology that can actually use tools by itself. And so Cursor uses, Visual C++, and and now we have Gemini agents that are able to use the browser and browse for groceries or destinations or book travel for you, and it can use tools by itself. So this is really quite an extraordinary thing. The tool industry is a few $1 trillion. Yeah. Tool user industry is $100 trillion, which is the reason why everybody's so excited about the future of technology, because it could augment labor, it can increase the productivity of labor, and here at Nvidia, it's increased our productivity tremendously.
You've already said you wish you could have bought
hundreds of trillions of dollars, guys. Hundreds of trillions. This is a trillion dollar economy that we're about to enter.
More OpenAI and maybe invested more in XAI at this point. That implies that you don't think that this is all redundant, because a lot of the players, if I read what Sam Altman says and the message he tries to convey, it's as if they're sprinting to try to stay ahead of everybody else because they think it's not going to be room for everybody necessarily who's trying to do something similar.
I think there's general intelligence, and I think there's specialized intelligence.
Yeah.
We love general. When I hire engineers, I like them to be generally intelligent, and that's a great thing. But once they come to NVIDIA, we make them highly specialized intelligent so that they could build things that NVIDIA needs. And so I think the idea of specialized intelligence versus generalized intelligence will continue to happen. And where the real value for enterprises and companies is specialized intelligence, and where the value for consumers, general intelligence.
Hey, Justin, let's talk a little bit about capital allocation and how you see that. Just back to those same points, that you wish you had more invested in OpenAI, you wish you had more invested in these other companies that you're kind of taking stakes in, like an XAI. You can do things with your money. You can choose to put it back into R&D. You probably don't need a ton with that right now. You can choose to build the company. You can choose to make acquisitions. You can choose to give shareholders back big dividends, or you can invest it yourself in other companies. And lately, what we've seen is a lot of investing in other companies. Do you have other deals like that planned in the works?
We're always looking for great startups to invest in. One of my favorite ones was CoreWeave. Right. My only regret is I didn't invest enough. Yeah. And so in all of these investments that we've made recently, we've made some really terrific investments, and largely my only regret is that we didn't invest more. because these are really special companies, and they're part of our ecosystem, building out the AI infrastructure for the world. And AI is several things. AI is energy, AI is chips, the models, and the applications. And so you could see Nvidia, and you could look at chips. AI is several.
Okay, he's about to basically say what I've been basically saying, right? The chips, the chatbots, the applications. Let's talk about these different order derivatives, okay? Let's slow it down because it's very important. We don't want to miss this. All right, let's listen.
Building out the AI infrastructure for the world. And AI is several things. AI is energy, AI is chips.
So AI is energy, okay? So what does that mean, energy? Okay, let's look at a stock called Okla. Okay, Okla is what does Okla do? Advanced nuclear technology company based in Santa Clara, California. Yada yada yada. It helps with affordable energy, and this might help power the next AI revolution. Okay, look at this energy stock. When it literally went up 7x. Okla is now $171, $25 billion. AI is energy. Okay, so this gives you an example, right? Right. Then you got obviously energy transfer and all these other things, but Okla, right? Let's continue going back to this one now.
The models and the applications.
The models is what? So it's again, so it goes from energy, the chips, GPUs, Nvidia, the models, OpenAI, Cloud, XAI, and then the applications. Applications are open evidence or Counterpart Health, Counterpart Assistant SaaS. You understand what I'm saying now? I am investing in the application side, right? I already invested. I made a video. People don't believe in me, and it's okay. I mean, that's just what it is. I mean, there's a reason why there's a lot of, there's only a small amount of rich people, and then there's a lot of poor people. I mean, it is what it is, right? But if you go, I mean, this is life. It is. I cannot help it. But if you go ahead and go to, semiconductor stocks, Al Stock Trades, you go ahead and go to Al Stock Trades and I made a video here, 421 views. I made the video actually 3 years ago. GPT says basically 2 years ago, but YouTube is wrong. I made the video in October 2022, right? That's what was that? It's 2025 now. It's almost like 3 years. That's 2 years and a half, right? That's like 3 years. I made a video on semiconductor stocks. And what is this? I talked about RGTI. It's less than $250 million market cap. What is let's see where's RGTI now. It's $54 now, right? When is October, right? Look at where it was, and look where it dropped to, and look where it was. That's a 4-bagger, right? Oh, sorry. Let me show you. Here's his RGTI, right? This is RGTI. Look at that. That's RGTI. If we were to go back to the top semiconductors, here's the top semiconductors, and this is RGTI. Here's one of them. Right, and look at that. It used to be $250 million MC market cap. Now it's $17 billion. Look at that. You see, again, this is the chips. These are quantum chips. You see how it exploded? Are you starting to see the mental models and how they can make you rich? You're starting to see the game. So what am I doing now? Okay. Chips, I already talked about chips. Energy, I already told you, about one of them that I like, but chips, I already talked to you. I made a video about chips that only had 421 views. That's it. This video only got 421 views. And let's look at other stocks. I think this one got bought out. TSEM stock. Look at that one, right? This one's up 147%. Let's look at more. And so there's that. And I said the bull case is 57, and then now it's 73. Okay, this is like 3 years ago. So this is an old now. These are old videos. Okay, I was so young. Okay, what else? We have On Semiconductor. Let's look at On stock. On stock is 50. Didn't really do much. Right? So obviously, cash for health. You have PI. Let's look at the PI stock. Here's here's a IMP INJ 87. Now here it is. It's doubled. Okay, so we have this beautiful one here. Amazing. Okay, What else? Okay, we have SitM. Let's see what this one's doing. SitM did good. It's a oops. See here. Two bagger. Okay. We talked about AVGO, which we talked about internally in our let me see if I can find it actually. I just have to find it here. Aha, yes. So this is an old picture. This was Nvidia before it was a this was Nvidia before they split the stock. It looks cheaper now. When did I make this? I made this analysis on February 3rd, 2022. This is an old thing, right? And I posted it. I kindly note this was previously included in our educational price target list. To observe our analysis has come to fruition. I made this analysis back to my original Gainsters, my original OG lifetime access members. Remember, on February 3rd, 2022. What year are we in now? 2025. Many people didn't even know what NVIDIA was. Let's go back to 2022. February 2022. Let's see what the NVIDIA stock was 2022. NVIDIA 2022. February. Where's February? It was $22. NVIDIA was $22. Now it's up 752%. You see that beautifulness? That's the beauty, baby. All right. Let's see what else. These are old ones, guys. You know what I mean? Old channel here. Who liked it? Rabdo. These are the old crew people. Let's see. Let's see if we can find AVGO. Because I know we talked about CrowdStrike, but let me just look at this price target here. Here it is, so you guys can see. Okay. Here it is. Look at this one. Right? I bought RGTI under 60 cents after listening to your video way back. Damn. Right? Right? Okay, now watch this. I posted this. It says at 10:13 p.m. But where's the date? Oh, here's Palantir. We talked about Palantir, right? These are old. These are really old. Let's go all the way up. This was back on January 14, 2022. So January 14, 2022. AVGO. Look at AVGO. January 2022. I said the bull case is 976. So let's look at AVGO now. Now it says 356. You might say, ha ha, it's lower, Al. You lost money. It must have fallen. And remember, this was in 2022. And no, it actually went up. What? But the stock price, you said it was going to be higher. That is pre-adjusted. They adjusted their stock. They adjusted. See, people just look at the stock price. And that is, if you don't understand that, then people like me are going to beat you because my mental model is stronger than yours. Right? So January 2022 is right here. Look at it where it's now. $568. I was talking about these stocks since 2022. How the hell did I know that Open AI just made a deal. Open AI just made a deal with Broadcom. Microsoft made a deal with MP Technologies. I said MP is going to be the next 10-bagger stock. Okay, well let's look at MP Materials. Look what it's doing. Oh, it's going. How am I able to do that? Because I have mental models of the world. I understand where the world is going. I ignore the noise. I don't care about Democrats. I don't care about Republicans. I don't care. You think I care what Trump says? I don't waste my time on what he says. I don't study the intermediate. I don't give a shit what that guy says. Right? He can literally walk right past me, and I don't give a damn. Right? I may take a picture. Right? Honestly, I'll have more passion to see Obama, to be quite frankly honest. Right? But again, it's okay. I like both. It's fine. Whatever. It's okay. Business is business, right? But at the end of the day, I don't care about the politics. I'm not going to waste my time about politics. I'm here to make money. I'm here to show you my mental models and how I was able to understand the AI infrastructure and talk about all these stocks before, yes, Dan Ives, before you, and yes, Tom Lee, before you. You understand me? And now what am I doing? I know where we're headed. Okay? We went from energy now to the chips. First, they have to show us the chips and the AI bots. They proved it. Now everyone is going to go backwards. The energy. Okay? Who knows? Maybe Enphase. I don't know. Something to look into. Current administration, kind of tough, right? Energy, right? And then you have the chips. Then you have the AI bots, Open AI. And then you have the applications, Open Evidence, Counterpart Health. Okay? What I did right now, let me just kind of give you an analogy. Okay? I went backwards and I inverted the problem. Is what Charlie Munger does. Okay, I inverted the whole damn thing. Okay, instead of giving you a graduation speech in 1986 in Harvard, Charlie Munger, right? Instead of saying, these are the things that you need to do for an amazing life, Charlie Munger said, no, these are the things you need to do for a miserable life. Invert the problem. Invert the problem. I want a good life. No. Screw that. I want to know what actions can I do to have a miserable life. So I know not to do those actions. The first one is be reliable, right? Don't be reliable, right? Don't let anyone count on anything of you. You think you're going to be successful? If you're not reliable, invert the problem. Invert it. It's very hard. You think people can do inversions in their mind? They barely even know where freaking Arizona is on the map. They don't even know where Ukraine is on the map. They don't even know where Israel, they don't even know what, I guarantee you, they don't even know where, to be quite freaking really honest with you, they probably don't even know Trump is president. Or Trump is a fascist, right? That's what they say, right? People have preconceived models because they say Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. Donald Trump is a fascist, right? They say because it's easy to take a chip that's programmed that someone gave you and put it in your head rather than think for yourself. Or here's another one, right? Palestinians are terrorists. My significant other's Palestinian. She's not no terrorist. Come on, guys. Right? It is very easy for you to absorb the garbage from society. If you want to be rich, you have to put a filter in your head. You have to literally have a filter in your head. You cannot let the garbage get in your mind. You have to protect your mind. You have to protect your mind. I'm teaching you mental models. So now let me tell you, what the hell did I do? I went backwards. I said, everyone's rushing right now trying to catch the next stock. I already talked about MP. I already talked about AVGO. Don't you think I invested in those? Are you shitting me? Do you know who the hell I am? How the hell do you think I got this far in my life? Okay? Now listen, okay? Let me tell you. So now let's think backwards. So what the hell did I do? I went the other way. I said, I am going to build the biggest freaking open pool that's empty. And I'm going to sit at the finish line where everyone else is going to go. And once Wall Street catches on, and once the market catches on, water and money will flow in the application cycle. And when that happens, I will have the biggest pool open. And when all that water drops, I'm going to be there collecting my money. And while Daniel Ives and Tom Lee come to where I'm already at, I'm going to be thinking on the next level, the next iteration. Where is our society going next? Steve Jobs said you cannot predict the future, but you can look at the past. I studied the past. You can become a billionaire by picking up a $30 history book, by looking at history. It'll show you many billion-dollar companies that people have overlooked. There is a lot of NIH research that got drowned out in the 80s because no funding happened. You know how many ideas there are out there that no one took and ran with them? Again, I'm here to show you how I think. I'm giving you a tool. Each one teach one, each one reach one. When the slaves didn't have access to education, they used the church to learn how to read. And it was the duty of the person that knew how to read to whisper each one teach one to the next slave. And that next slave had a mission to tell the other slave, his brother or sister, that same mission. And I'm teaching you that someone that used to eat from the trash, that have no mom, no dad, nobody trying to come out, trying to help me. I'm teaching you how to get to the next level, to where you control the world. People will bend at your will because you have money, and you can literally distort people's reality because you become a master of how the world works. You put in 10,000 hours in anything, you become the master of how the world is programmed. You can bend the reality of people and know exactly how the world works by understanding the anatomical sequence of your reality. And by creating a lattice framework. How do you think Munger was able to do this? Or Monish Pabrai? I'm teaching you how to think. And I'm teaching you what, I had to basically learn on my own because nobody gave me this information. All right. Again, I don't like to talk about stock picks and the past, but why do you think the OG Lifetime Access members are still using my platform, our platform, right? They see something there. There's something there. Okay. So, with that said, well, before I even go, let's go back to Professor Jensen. Let's listen to what he has to say, and then we'll continue. Let's see here. It's not much left.
And so you could see Nvidia, and you could look at me working across that entire stack of ecosystems around the world. And we need more energy, we need more chips, we need better models and more models, and we need a lot more applications.
And we need a lot more applications. And what do you think Clover is doing? It's the next application software. That's what I'm waiting on now. And Andrew just gave a hint. So that's what I'm waiting on, Andrew. Now let me just talk to you. I'm not expecting SaaS numbers to be released in Q3 2025. I'm not expecting them to be released in Q4. Maybe 2026. I'm not expecting until 2028, to be honest. 2027 will be a treat. He just put a dagger on the company. 2027, I'm expecting now based off of his last publication. But if you think that SaaS numbers are coming next quarter, again, if they can, then great. I welcome them. But if that's your expectation, then you will be upset. And it's okay. There will be other dumb retail investors that will be upset as well. They will sell. People like me and institutions will take your shares. And don't get mad at me when I'm living in a multi-million-dollar home. Don't get mad at people like us based off of your unfruitful decisions. Okay? I'm teaching you how Wall Street works. I'm teaching you how to think. I'm teaching you how to think for yourself, right? Because that is oxygen. That is how you're going to live in the next fourth industrial revolution, right? And that's all I have to say for yourself. That's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the show, and I hope that you enjoyed kind of the overall lattice framework. And we're going to be doing more of this, right? We're going to be doing more of this because I feel like you're going to be able to get a lot out of this because it's really important to show you how one thinks, right? Right? You know, maybe, I don't know why it does that, but, I'm sorry. I think it's a YouTube thing, maybe because I'm live. Yeah, I appreciate you guys. Wasn't able to essentially get to all the questions here. I'm sorry. But I hope that this was helpful. Again, guys, at the end of the day, I'm just trying to show you how I think. That's it. Right? Do I think it's fair that you think I want to be the only millionaire in the world that knows this? Or how about this? Do you think I want to be the only multimillionaire that started from the bottom? No, of course not. I want you to join me. Right? Isn't that what life is about? Guys, we're talking trillions of dollars being made here. There's enough millions for all of us to be made. You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about trillions. I'm talking about millions. Millions is nothing. Right? But I hope that we were able to break the mental model of everything. Andrew, if you're watching, I'm expecting now, since, again, no pressure on you, but you said it. Again, I don't put any pressure on you, but you said that in 2027, any offset will be given to the whatever AI model that you have. So in 2027, I'm expecting $50 million to $100 million in revenue from Counterpart. And if I'm wrong, please clarify in the next earnings report. Okay. That's all I have for you guys. That's pretty much it. Right. I'm going to go, I got to go pick up my suit at the dry cleaning. Love you all. And remember, guys, for all the lifetime access members, teach your kids. Okay. Remember, lifetime access gets extended to your children. People forget that. Lifetime access doesn't mean that it ends with your life. If you don't bring your children onto our platform, then you are a crappy father or mother. I'm sorry. You're gonna be like, how dare you? Right? Yes, you are. If you don't show them, why do you think I invented this? I invented this for you to learn how to create generational wealth. Right? Because I went through public health, sociology, and all of these so-called professors with MDs, PhDs, and all the alphabet soup, they don't even, you know what their answer is at the end of the class? We need more funding from the government. Okay, go talk to Donald Trump. You think he's going to give you $1? If you're not teaching your children this, then you failed. Then you failed me. Okay? Master the chin. I heard that you were bringing your children. I want to see your children more on there. Just don't tell your children not to be in the up 18 up channel. Right? But if you guys don't do that, then you failed me. You failed the mission. If you're not bringing your children into this platform and teaching them, because at the end of the day, you will pass away. You will die. Master the chin, me and I will both die, right? And your children need to learn how to use this platform, okay? And yes, it's legal. You can transport this platform to your children. They don't have to pay $1. They have lifetime. Okay. When I say lifetime, I mean lifetime. And I'm going to, later on, once I'm, done with the whole medical, I'm going to figure out how to make this work after my life. Right. I have a long life, not knock on wood, but that's the goal. Okay. Because I'm sick and tired of these public health people and all these, nothing against them, but I'm just tired. You guys say the same shit over again. Let's do a fishbone diagram. Let's talk about the root cause and all the BS. Get the hell out of here. You've done a good job with your water, clean water, and, all this other stuff. You've done a good job with epidemiology, but you guys, you need to teach the poor. I'm not calling you poor, Master the Chin, but you just need to teach the people how to think and have data to what Wall Street does. And that's it. Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. So, yeah. We're going to go ahead and appreciate all of you guys. Appreciate you all. We're going to go ahead and actually do more lives on the Discord. We've done a lot. You can see there's been an uptick. It's just a lot easier for me than the, the YouTube here, but we're going to do a lot more of that. Right. Many dead organizations. Last word. We need more funding. Listen, guys, we're not going to get our answers from the government. The government's not going to help us. Okay. We have to help each other. Okay. Bring your children on, teach them. So then, because they're young, you know how much insight I'm going to learn from them when they become 18, when they become 20, they're going to have their own mental models. Imagine the next Warren Buffett can come from our platform. I kid you not. Think about that. Right? We have access to everything. We have the data. We have it all. All right, guys. Love you all. Appreciate you. By the way, 600 people are watching right now. That's pretty impressive, don't you think? We got about 600 people listening. I would say a lot more from, YouTube. I'm sorry, Twitter. You can see our 601 people. It's pretty impressive. Not bad. But yeah, that's it, right? So, see, Al gives you private welfare instead of being stuck on public welfare. Yeah. Trust me, I was on public welfare. It wasn't good, guys. They don't give you a lot, right? And most politicians just make money for themselves. Shame on Nancy Pelosi. Shame on you. You are an advocate for the poor as a Democrat. You wore that with disdain of all the money you made, you and your husband. Shame on you. And also shame on all the Republicans that insider trade as well. Shame on all of you, right? Someone like me has to leave his studies in medicine for a few moments to go ahead and build something out like this because our politicians, our elected officials can't help their own citizens, right? I definitely need to record those Discord lives. I don't know how. I need to figure them out. Right now, they're just kind of on the spur. Like, meet me in the channel. We just start talking and everyone's like asking questions and it's fun. Most people would rather die than adopt all the it's a shame. It's because they're already dead, right? And if you believe that, my friend, go ahead and do that, my friend, right? Go ahead. You are free. You are free to do whatever your heart entails. I'm on a different path, right? That's the path I'm on. Ladies and gentlemen, appreciate you all. God bless you all. And I will see you on the next one.